Okay, so today we're looking at matrix operations of, in terms of addition. We're looking at subtraction and also scalar multiplication. So when we add or subtract matrices, they have to be of the same order. So if you look at this example down under here, this first matrix is a 2 by 2 and so is the second one. And you simply just, when you're adding them, you add the same spot. So A would get added with W, B would get added with X, C would get added with Y, and D would get added with Z, like that, okay? And obviously that's the same with the subtraction, that the same spot, you just subtract. So you can see there, you subtract the same position. Okay, so that's quite easy. So you might like to, you're going to see some examples and do some questions. You might want to store the matrix if you like to, because you do a whole heap. You can do that, otherwise you can type them out. These ones, addition, it's probably easier to do it in your head and quicker to do it in your head and things like that. Sometimes we have to work out which is quicker, and I would say typing this up on your calculator would take longer than you can do it in your head. So see here when we're asked to add A and B, so 2 plus 1 is 3, 3 plus 2, 5, 0 plus 3 is 3. So there's where they're doing the same element. So 1 plus 2, 3, 4 plus minus 2 would be 2, and 2 plus 1 is 3. Just be careful when you're doing the minusing ones, because you've got to remember, say here, where we have 4 and we're going to minus a minus. So a minus to a minus becomes a plus, and note that that becomes 6. So you've got to be careful if you are doing them in your head. Just be careful with something like that. So let's have a look at this exam question here. It says then we've got 2 matrices being added, and then they've given you the answer. Then D is equal to. So if we look at what's happening, where's D? D's here. So we would have had 1 plus D equals 11. So you would have had 1 plus D equals 11. So D's got to equal 10. And there's your answer. Okay. So when they say over on this other example here, it says consider these matrix expressions. So you can see they're getting added. And they're saying how many of these 4 equations are defined. Defined means you can actually, do the operation. So you can only do it if they're the same order. So the only one that has the same order is this one and this one. So how many of these can be done? 2. Okay, so with this page, they're just quickly showing you that you can store them in your calculator, which we did the other day. So remember control variable, which was above the number 9 on your keypad. You get the little arrow. So they've stored the matrix M, and then they also stored N. So when they were asked to add it, you can just simply type M plus N and do it. In your chapter work, it is easier probably to store them because they use them for a whole heap of questions, so that'll make your life easier. In an exam, not so much, because I think if you actually just keep going up and highlighting it and dropping it down, it's better because you can literally see the numbers, and if you've made an error, you'll be able to fix it up a bit easier. All right. Okay, now we're also looking at scalar multiplication. So scalar multiplication is when we have something, just a one number outside the matrix like that. And that simply means you times everything inside the matrix by that number or letter. It doesn't have to be a number. So here we've got 7 outside, so it became 7A, 7B, 7C, 7D. So down here, these ones where they've told me A, and now they're saying 3A, so I've simply times each one by 3. So 2 times 3 is 6, 3 times 3 is 9, 3 times 0 is 0, and so on. And you've got that. So 3 times 1 is 3, 3 times 4, 12, and so on. Okay, you can get a fraction. So if you end up with, say, 1/3 outside your matrix, I'm just making this one up, like that. So if you times it out, you're timesing cross fractions, but some of you might not remember all those rules and it might get a little bit, it's not worth your hassle. Just type that one in on the calculator. And you'll end up with, if your calculator's on exact, you'll end up with something like this. And if not, you'll have decimals. But you can also press Control Enter and you'll get the decimal answer if you need the decimal answer. Like before when we had an exact answer, Control Enter gives you a decimal. It'll just repeat that matrix in decimal. All right, so if we look at this matrix up here in the exam question, they've asked what is this equivalent to. So if you have a look, they've given some scalar options, because if I times this one out, it would be 0, 36, 0, and 24. So is that it? No, that's not working. If I look at this one here, this would be 12, 36, 0, 24. Is that the same? Yeah, so that's an equivalent matrix. It would produce the same thing.